You're ready, I'm ready for you.
Ogbechie is the Group Managing Director of RainOil Limited, which he founded in 1997. He has over 30 years of direct sales, marketing, and operations experience within the oil and gas space. Over the last 2 decades, he has directly overseen the growth of the group's operations across the entire downstream value chain, comprising 3 ultra-modern petroleum product storage depots, that is, 50 million liter capacity multi-product depots in Oghara, Delta State, Calabar, Cross River State, and Ijegun Egba, Lagos State, and 8,000 metric ton LPG storage facility in Ijegun, Lagos State, over 100 retail outlets spread across the country, over 100 petroleum product tank trucks, and over 40 LPG trucks for efficient delivery of products to RainOil's network of stations and customers across the country. In his capacity as Group Managing Director, he oversees a staff strength of over 1,200. Dr. Gabriel Ogbechie pioneered the petroleum product bulk storage investment in the Oghara axis of Delta State, which is today a critical hub for petroleum product supply in the country. He is a graduate of production engineering from the University of Benin, Nigeria, and holds an honorary doctorate degree of technology management from Novena University, Nigeria. In line with his drive for service excellence and self-development, he has attended several management courses locally and abroad. He is a pioneer member of the Lagos Business School Owner-Manager Program. Being a man of many parts and a strong believer of giving back to his roots, he has supported the following initiatives through the company: the Gabriel Ogbechie Foundation in Delta State, which provides scholarships to undergraduates, community healthcare services, as well as youth employment initiative; the annual RainOil Lawn Tennis Tournament, which holds annually in Lagos, promoting youth and sports development in Nigeria; financial support to orphanages in Lagos and Abuja; provision of physical infrastructure and public amenities in local communities in Delta State; medical outreaches to schools in host communities; dedicated employment opportunities to youth in host communities. Among his many hobbies is playing lawn tennis, which he is very passionate about. He is married to Godry and they are blessed with 3 children. House on the Rock. Please make welcome Dr. Gabriel Ogbechie.
I don't know why you're clapping like your hand is spinning. You put your hands together. You may be seated. Okay, I already have seen a lot of similarities between us. First of all, he has 3 children, and I have 3. He came wearing my collar this morning, and he loves long tennis, that I do love also. So you see, there's a path to greatness. So, you know what is remaining now? Praise God. I will get there, man. Praise God. All right. We have a first-class media personality who will anchor this program. He's a member of this church and an executive in Man-to-Man Conference Committee. He is one of the senior reporters in Bridge FM. He's the son of this house who just newly got married and is still in the honeymoon, but came out of the moon to anchor this program. We are honored and privileged to have in the house Mr. Rex. Let's put our hands together as he comes.
Thank you very much, Pastor. Do we have men in the house? Yes. Okay, so once again, I want to thank you, Pastor, for convening this conference. We've been having a blast, and this is the final weekend, and we are ready to, take it up a notch. All right, I want to give a special shout-out to the Man-to-Man Committee. Please put your hands together for them. They are the reason we are able to do all we're doing this morning. Okay, and I want to say another big welcome to our guest this morning. Good morning, sir. Okay, to start things off, I read that you were born in the rainy season, and you named your company RainOil. And since you did, it has been raining blessings for us, for you. So tell us, what inspired that name for your company? Most people name it after their initials. We see companies like that. But is there any prophetic reason you named your company RainOil?
Thank you very much for that very, very, very interesting question. But before I answer that, let me appreciate Pastor Cosfen Udoka for the wonderful job you're doing in this ministry. When I got the invitation out of the blues, that mail just came out of the blues. And I said, what's going here? To start with, House on the Rock is a church I admire so much. It's a church I love to attend, and as much as possible, I attend House on the Rock in Lagos. So, but I'll speak more to that much later in the conference. So thank you very much for this opportunity. Now, coming to the question, in 1990, between 1992 and 1997, but 1992 to 1994, I was working for a downstream oil and gas company, and I've always wanted to do something for myself. I've always wanted to run my own business, right from when I was in university. Even though I took a degree in production engineering, while I was in university, I kept telling myself, Gabriel, I would love to, I love the art of counting money. I love the art of trading. Having spent a good part of my formative years in Onitsha. So by 1994, I decided to incorporate a business. So my wife and I went to meet a friend of mine who is a lawyer and also a pastor, Pastor N.F. Korubo. So went to his house one evening, August 1994, and I said, NF, I want to start a company. He said, what kind of company? I said, an oil company. So what name do we give to the company? So we started banding names around. Why don't we call it Gaboil? Why don't we call it this oil? Why don't we call it that oil? We're just banding names around. And then NF said something. He said, Gabriel, rain stands for blessing. Why don't we call it rain oil? And I said, NFI, you know what? You're correct. But instead of rain oil, we're going to merge the two words together to get one word, rain oil. And that was how RainOil Limited was incorporated in November 1994, but eventually we started business in November 1994, but we started business in May 1997, and like they say, the rest is history. So that name actually is very, very prophetic. That name was coined by a man of God, a pastor, and just as he rightly predicted, rain stands for blessing. We named the company RainOil, and I stand on this pulpit to say that it has indeed been very prophetic, and it has really worked. Thank you very much.
Okay, let's now talk about the journey so far. Throughout this conference, we've heard a lot, but I'm sure a lot of men want to hear the processes, in building the business. And we know the oil and gas sector is capital intensive to start, especially in the downstream. So how did you start the company? We know you have experience production engineering. You've worked with an oil company, even PricewaterhouseCoopers. So how did that play into you setting up the business? How did you get finance? All of that.
Okay. Let me share this story. Let me just share this story. Let me go back a bit of memory lane. Like I said, when I was young, I really wanted to do something for myself, right from when I was in university, and then, like you rightly said, I worked for Pricewaterhouse, and then I joined another downstream oil and gas company called Ascon Oil. I was with Ascon Oil from 1992 to 1997. Between 1992 to 1997, at the point I wanted to start this business, I was on a salary of 30,000 naira a month. I asked myself one very simple question. Gabriel, what else can you do to make 30,000 naira a month? I asked myself that question because I believed then, as I still believe today, that anything you can do to make your salary can take the place of your job. Too many people have this emotional attachment to this thing called job. It's just a means of livelihood. If you work for Zenith Bank and they pay you 500,000 naira a month, all they are simply saying is, come to work at 8 o'clock, do these set skills, close at 6. At the end of the month, we'll give you 500,000. If you can sell recharge card at Summit Junction and make that say 500,000, it can replace that job. So let us free up our mind about this thing called job. The woman who sells on the roadside, make no mistake about it, she may be making more money than what a lot of people are wearing suit and tie, chasing in the offices that they. I'm not trying to downplay anything here, but I'm trying to say, let us free up our mind. So I asked myself this question, and I said, Gabriel, what else can you do to make 30,000 naira a month? And I said, if I could sell one truck of diesel, just one truck of diesel. A truck of diesel in 93, 94, we're buying it for 9 naira per liter and selling it for 10 naira per liter. So the margin was 1 naira. A truck of diesel then was largely 30,000 liters. So if you sell a truck and make 1 naira, you make 30,000. So I said, Gabriel, if you sell one truck of diesel, even if you go home and sleep, after supplying one truck, just go home and sleep for 30 days. After 30 days, wake up, come and collect your check. You would have made 30,000 naira. So a truck of diesel in 1994 was 300,000 naira. I didn't have 300,000 naira. But first things first, I needed to incorporate a company. And I went to meet NFA Korumbo, and we incorporated this company. Incorporated this company in 1994. By November 1994, I'd gotten my certificate of incorporation, put it in the drawer. So I always call that step one, incorporate a company. Incorporate a company. If you're not running your business today and you plan at some point to run a business, go and incorporate the company today. Names are disappearing very fast for those of you who have tried. Recall, I had a hypothesis that if I sell a truck of diesel in a month, I will make how much? 30,000 naira. I needed 300,000 naira to get a truck of diesel. I didn't have it. I wrote proposals. I went to those who I believe have the money. All I was hearing was, meet me here today, meet me there tomorrow. Stories. So I learned my first lesson. People rarely give money to those who don't have. Do I have a witness in the house? Today, there are people I will call, I will say, can I get 50 million naira there? They will just give it to me without even asking me what I want to do with it. But 93, 94, 95, I had a habit. My office was in a solo. For those of you who know Lagos well, I had a stockbroker on Bank Anthony Way in Ikeja. With as little as 2,000 naira in my pocket, I will drive from a solo to Bank Anthony Way in Ikeja. I will give 2,000 naira to my stockbroker, Nyemike, buy me 500 units of Nigerian breweries. With 1,500 naira in my pocket, I will drive to Bank Anthony Way, Nyemike, buy me 400 units of First Bank. I was going through my capital market file one day, and I saw a receipt. That file, any of you who is privileged to come to my office, I still have the file. The receipts have all changed color. They are all brown now. I saw a receipt, 500 naira receipt, with which I bought shares in Aboseldehyde Laboratories. How many of you here remember that company or ever heard of that company? I bought 500 naira shares in Aboseldehyde Laboratories. I was investing in shares, little by little. Remember I incorporated this company when? 1994. I need you to flow with me. I need to be sure you're listening. 94. By 1996, I was getting frustrated that I couldn't raise the 300,000 naira. One evening, I remember it was in August 1996, I got up from my house and I brought out my capital market file and I started itemizing all the stock one by one. 2,000 units of 7-Up at 70 kobo per share, 1,400 naira. 2,000 units of First Bank at 6 naira per share, 12,000 naira. I was itemizing all the stock. By the time I finished itemizing the stock, it went into 2 pages. When I summed it up, it came to 497,000 naira. Praise the Lord.
Hallelujah.
I was shocked. You know, the Bible tells us, cast your bread upon the waters that you may find it after many days. The 2,000 naira, 1,500 naira, 5,000 naira that I was investing in stock had grown to 497,000 naira without my knowing. I gathered the shares. Again, those were the days of share certificates, not the days of CSCS. How many of you here know what CSCS is? Now, men, let me tell you, let's digress. You need to be financially literate. You need to invest. You need to invest. But I will come to that. Let me focus. I took those share certificates, took them to the same stockbroker. He verified the ones he could verify. He sold the ones he could sell. And at the end of the day, I had my 300,000 naira. Praise the Lord.
Hallelujah.
Recall I had a hypothesis that if I sell a truck of diesel, I will make how much? 30,000 naira. I now needed to go into the marketplace to test this hypothesis. I'm a salesman. I'm still a salesman. When I get into my sales mode, I can sell. Anything. I had a classmate in a company called First Aluminium. We're classmates in the university. Mike Okolo. Mike Okolo was working for First Aluminium somewhere in Akilo, in Ikeja. So I met Mike, who introduced me to the purchasing manager, a man called Mr. Ojo. So I had no problems convincing Mr. Ojo to give me an LPO to supply First Aluminium 1 truck of diesel at 10 naira per liter, 300,000 naira. So Mr. Ojo told me to come on this fateful Tuesday to come and pick up my LPO. So I went there very excited. Hey, Mr. Ojo, how far? What of the LPO? Sorry, the LPO is not ready. I said, why? He said the GM refused to sign. I said, which GM? I got up. Mr. Ojo thought I was leaving. I knew the GM by reputation. A man called Mr. Aija Haneku. His office was down the corridor. He had a secretary who was sitting to the right of his door. I knew that if I made the mistake of telling that secretary I wanted to see that man, that would have been the end of it. So I just approached the man's door. Good afternoon, man. Before she could raise her face to see who was greeting her, I opened the man's door and I was in his office. Yes, young man, what can I do for you? My name is Gabriel Ogbechie. I'm from RainOil Limited. My LPO is on your table. Please help me sign it. He said, which one is RainOil? We only buy from Mobil or Unipetrol then or Total. Gabriel Ogbechie did all the marketing he could do that day, Ija Haneku wasn't ready to sign the LPO. Gabriel Ogbechie wasn't ready to go anywhere. He was seated, I was standing. At some point, he got tired of me. He wanted to leave me in his office. As he approached the door, I just used my body to block the door and say, help a young man who wants to grow. Sign this LPO. Aja Haneku looked at me long and hard. He went back to his table. He signed the LPO, gave it to me and said, I don't want to ever see you in my office again. I said, thank you very much. I took that LPO. I made the supply. Instead of making 30,000 naira, prices had moved. I made 45,000 naira. It was working. The second supply, a supply to Limca on Abimbola Way in Isolo. Limca gave me a cash check drawn on Nigerian Bank in Daleko. Margin was 2 naira per liter, 60,000 naira. The third supply was to United Spinners on Apapo Shudu Expressway. I made 25,000 naira. It was working. Today, we've grown RainOil to what it is today. RainOil today, I dare say, is one of the most prominent, if not the most prominent downstream oil and gas company in Nigeria today, accounting for a very, very significant amount of petrol that is distributed in this country. RainOil is the only downstream oil and gas company that owns 3 tank farms in 3 out of the 4 key hubs in this country. We are in Lagos. We have a tank farm in Lagos with an LPG facility. We have a tank farm in Ogara. We have a tank farm in Calabar. We have more than 100 petrol stations spread across this country, from Kano to Gombe to Abuja to Lagos to, of course, to Asaba, all over the country. And like you said, we employ more than 1,200 Nigerians. So it's been a very, very interesting journey by the grace of God. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Now that we have some background, okay, what can you tell us about, what you studied and the places you worked and how that played into your success in building the business? Because we know that, from supplies, at some point you needed to scale up and start to own all the properties where the filling station. So how did that progress?
I don't want to tie it to what I studied. I went to St. Patrick's College, Asaba here. I went to SPC, Asaba. When I was in SPC, I was the best student in mathematics. I love mathematics. When I was in SPC, when I'm not happy, I go solve math problems. Solving math problems gives me a high. I made an A1 in maths, but when you tell me I made an A1 in maths, I'm not satisfied because that doesn't tell the whole story. My maths in school said I must have scored nothing less than 95%. It doesn't tell the whole story. Every single cell in my body is mathematics. I took a degree in engineering. All my engineering maths courses when I was in Ibe were all A's. I mean, they were all straight A's. So when I was in SPC, because of my love for maths, I naturally went in for engineering. But 2 years into my study of engineering, I realized that, with all due respect, I don't have a flair for engineering. I have a flair for mathematics. I have a flair for calculation. Anything you tell me, just tell me calculate. Whether it's fluid mechanics, whether it's thermodynamics, whether it's, as long as it's calculate, I'm in my... But don't tell me to come and fix anything, carry screwdriver to fix anything. I'm not interested. You can tell me to design and do better. I'm not a practical till tomorrow. I have very little patience for technology. People are created differently. I have very little patience for technology. My 16-year-old son is more techie than myself. So the moment I left the university, I knew that I didn't want to do the practical part of. So at the first opportunity, I joined Pricewaterhouse to do management consulting, accounting, auditing, and stuff. And then from Pricewaterhouse, I joined a downstream oil and gas company. And then from there, because I was working for a downstream oil and gas company, I understood the ropes. I knew how to make money in the business. I saw money being made. And I knew that if I could raise some money, I would be able to do something for myself. And then, of course, I went, got my seed capital, and started the business. So does it have to do with what I studied in the school? I don't think so. But what I studied in school and my background, has it helped in running the business? I would say yes. Because I always think in numbers. When I'm discussing with you, I'm calculating. People who are around me would always tell you that I'm very calculating. In a conversation, I can break down the numbers. I can tell you what will work and what will not work. I mean, whatever, because you see, business is all about numbers. Like I always say, you are only in business when your income exceeds your expenditure. If your income does not exceed your expenditure, you've just created activity. You're just busy. You're just busy. We're not here to be busy. We're here to make money. So you must be able to calculate what the bottom line is. You must be able to think on your feet. Because of my background in engineering, because of my background with mathematics, I can calculate on my feet. And then, of course, I'm very strategic. You know, in business, you don't work on impulse. No. It's not an impulsive thing. It's like they say, entrepreneurs are risk takers, but they take calculated risk. You don't take blind risk. So you must calculate your risk and be sure that it will work. So in my expansion, in my investment, I always bring in strategy into it. And what I have studied and my background fits into my strategy. So my strategy is very in-depth. I think through. Where do I want to be next year? Where do I want to be in 2 years' time? Where do I see this company 5 years from today? You must write it down. It's like, saying, write down your vision and make it plain. You must write it down. Don't live by the day. Don't live, it's like anywhere the wind blows you. No. No. What do you want to achieve by December? By December 2022, where do you want your life to be? Write it down. And then every single action you take on a daily basis must be geared towards achieving that objective which you have spelled out. So again, I go back. Does it have to do with what I studied in school? I don't think so. Does it impact it? Very much probably. Because we are an embodiment of every single knowledge that we have. When you are in school, whether it's secondary school or university, you are in the university, they say you're studying pole science or you're studying law. There's a set of courses and books that are recommended for what you have to do, correct? But once you get that degree and you come to the larger society, there are no textbooks anymore for you. So how much you know now depends on how wide and far you read. Which is why I always encourage people, you must read. A lot of us don't read even things as simple as newspaper. Newspaper is intelligence on the go. Every morning I wake up, before I leave my house, I've read all the papers. All. I've read Vanguard online. I've read Punch online. I've read This Day online. I've read The Nation online. I've read all of them before I leave my house. When I get to the office, they will always also supply me papers. Which is why there's nothing that will happen in the economy that will pass me by. I am very well informed. Make no mistake about it. I am very well informed. You can't run a very successful business without being well informed. Take that to the bank. Information is key. And then you must read. Which book are you reading? How many books have you read this year? How many books did you read? If you come to my library is very rich. Very, very rich. When I travel, one thing I do, I buy books. Business books, books on leadership, books on... Just read. No knowledge is wasted. Because when you take decisions, it is information that you have that is impacting that decision that you're taking. You may think you took that decision impulsively or instinctively. No, it is the knowledge that feeds the instinct. Without the knowledge, your instinct will be unguarded. So how much knowledge do you carry? How much knowledge do you have? That determines ultimately how far you go. Thank you very much.
A round of applause for Dr. Gabriel Ogbechie. So let's move to the risk part of the business. I'm sure every business has its risks, and you said calculated risk. So what are some of the risks you faced in building the oil and gas business that you started to this point, and how did you surmount them?
There are always two sides to a coin. And I always tell people this. I say, look, in every business where you can make a profit, you can also make a loss. Which is why profit and loss are two sides of the same coin. You know, it tells me, you know, we're all Christians. The parable of the talents. The master who was traveling and gave talents to his servants. One got 1 talent. He went to trade, he got 5. Another one traded, got 3. Another one went to dig the ground and put it there. And the master came back and said, how? Even if you put it in the bank, I would have earned some interest. And took it from him and gave to the one who have more. The point is, there's always that upside, but there's always also the downside. The key thing is we take calculated risk. In the oil and gas sector, there's a lot of risk. And those risks are not unconnected with the larger risks in the society today. This economy is tough. Do I have a witness in the house? The economy is tough. One of the biggest elephants in the rooms today is what I call the FX risk, foreign exchange risk. You import petroleum products, just as there may be traders in the house here who do a lot of imports. So I've imported diesel into this country. I did a letter of credit to my foreign trader. The diesel has come in. I've done my numbers. And I say 10,000 metric tons of AGO, ICE on the international market is trading for, today, let's say $600 per metric ton. Value of the cargo, $6 million. 10,000 metric ton, 11.6 million liters of diesel. Exchange rate, 400 naira per liter. You do your landed cost. Okay, it's landing for 230 naira per liter. Okay, you're selling for 240 naira per liter. You're making a margin of 10 naira. And then you sell. You realize the naira. The time now comes to pay your foreign supplier. Naira that you thought and you did your numbers that is at 400 naira per dollar is now 500 naira per dollar. The goods have been sold. So you can't reprice it. The naira you have is no longer sufficient to pay your supplier. You thought you made a profit of 10 naira per liter. You thought you made a profit of 100 million naira. And you were happy. But 6 months later, you realized that 100 million naira profit is actually 150 million naira loss. So these are risks. How do you mitigate those risks? Again, that now comes to the issue of strategy. How do you hedge your FX? How do you ensure that you don't get into a fluid situation, that you don't take an open-ended position? How do you ensure that your price is fixed? How do you ensure that you say, okay, fine, dollar today is maybe 400? No. Let me say as at then. Whatever number I use, I'm just using it for examples, correct? So dollar today, let's say, is 400 naira. What do I think is going to be in 6 months' time? And then begin to hedge against that to ensure that you don't take an open-ended position. Because again, we are business people. And as business people, we must take calculated risk. As a businessman and as a leader, you have a responsibility to ensure that the business survives. I will tell you this, and this is one thing I always share with my staff. I say, today, RainOil has about 1,200 people who are working in the company. So 1,200 people have staked their livelihood. So the company today is bigger than me. I don't have a right to wreck the business. Do you understand what I'm talking about? You may be the owner of the business, but you don't have a right to wreck the business because too many people have staked their livelihood on the business. So you must ensure that you have the right strategy. Well, talking about risk, I can talk about risk for the next 1 hour. But there are so many scenarios. I mean, you have to do a lot of scenario planning. You know, what I call what-if scenarios. What if this happens? What should I do? What if this happens? You have to do a lot of scenario planning and then take measures to hedge against those risks which you can foreseeably see. At the end of the day, it may work. At the end of the day, it may not work. But you know, you must be able to, hit your chest and say, you know what? I gave you my best shot. So it's not because I didn't do what I should do. Maybe you were just blindsided. Because again, I always encourage business people to say, as business people, it is our responsibility to do business as things are, not as they ought to be. It is what it is. Hello? It is what it is. We should do business as things are, not as they ought to be. There is no perfect situation. You want to go to Onitsha? Do you want to go to Onitsha? Do you want to go to Onitsha? If you want to go to Onitsha, head to Onitsha. Hey, you see, the go-slow on the head bridge is too much. Hey, the traffic at Ibuzo Junction, hey, they are spending 2 hours there. Hey, the rain is too much. If you see the sun, die. Guy, you won't go on Onitsha. Because there is never a perfect situation. If you are waiting for perfection, you will wait forever. Get on with it if you want to do it. That is what. So I don't indulge in pity party. Because pity party doesn't help anybody. Like I tell my staff, I say, look, let's not come here to complain. Nobody should come here and complain. I want people to come here with solutions. You know why? At the end of the month, we have salaries to pay. We are going to credit people's account with money, not with excuses. When the month ends, you're not going to give people excuses why salary is not being paid. Am I correct? Yes. So let's not come here and turn this into a pity party. There is foreign exchange fluctuation. Yes, we know. There is inflation in the economy. Yes, we know. Price of crude is fluctuating. Yes, we know. Fine. With all these parameters and all these limitations, gentlemen, what do we do? That is the discussion we want to have. So let's not spend our 1 hour of meeting indulging in lamentation and pity party. There is no medal for lamentation. There is medal for those who find solution in the midst of those challenges. Thank you very much. Let me leave it at that.
Okay, as we move on, I hope we're getting our questions ready. Yes, all right, because we need to get to all those questions. But I still have some. Talking about the strategies, because you said you're a very strategic person. What kind of strategies did you use to give your business an advantage, knowing full well that there are so many other oil and gas companies, those who have come from abroad and all of that, and now you are a big player in the market. So what strategy did you use?
Strategy is very transient. The strategy we used in year 2000 is different from the strategy we used in 2006. It's different from the strategy we're using today. I was in Harvard Business School where I went to do a program. And one of my key takeaways from Harvard Business School, they said, a poor strategy excellently executed is better than an excellent strategy poorly executed. What's your strategy? But most importantly, what is the execution? Too many people have strategy. How well are they executing it? What's your execution? Let me share an example with you. Live example. In my early days in this industry, the downstream then was broken down into the major marketers and the independent marketers. The major marketers then being the Mobil, the Texaco, the Unipetrol, the Total, and Co. The independent marketers being the RainOils and the others, correct? The distribution of fuel in the country then was such that NNPC then, which was the key source of product, was giving more fuel to the major marketers than they needed and less fuel to the independents than we needed. I had a station in Ipaja in Lagos, that could sell, it was selling 25,000 liters of fuel a day. So it was selling like, let me say, 20 trucks of petrol in a month. But my allocation for that station was only 2 trucks. But I could sell 20 trucks. But I getting how many trucks? 2 trucks. So I needed to come up with a strategy on how to ensure I have enough fuel to sell in that station. So I had a challenge, correct? So I needed to go back and strategize. So I said, okay, you know what I'm going to do? I will go into some relationship with a major marketer. So I came to Asaba. Around 2006. I said, any town I go into, I will go in with 2 stations, not 1. So I came into Asaba with 2 stations. The first one I call Asaba 1, which was a RainOil station down the road by SIO Industries. I've converted it today to an LPG plant, for those of you who have been in Asaba a long time. The second one, I call it Asaba 2, the RainOil station that is just here, coming from Okpanam, it's on the right. I brought in that station, I branded that one Oando, and branded the other one RainOil. It was strategic. The strategy was to ensure that in the name of Oando, I get enough fuel, not only to feed this station, but to feed that other one and feed every other one in this area. I did it in Asaba. I did it in Kaduna. I went to Kaduna. I got 2 stations about 2007. I branded one Oando. I branded one RainOil. I branded one of my stations in Lagos, Oando, and branded the rest RainOil. So I was running under 2 brands. RainOil being my brand, the second brand being Oando. But it was strategic. It was to ensure that all my stations, not only does all my stations get enough fuel to sell, that I even have excess to sell to other people. So what's your strategy? And what's the implementation? So I had a strategy. Not only did I come up with a strategy, I executed it diligently. I put structures on the ground to back up the strategy. And it worked effectively. Today, of course, I'm not running any station under Oando. With all due respect, Oando has suddenly become a competitor rather than somebody we look up to. You understand? Because boys become men, correct? Boys become men. So that in fact, as a matter of fact, today, RainOil is now in a position where other people are building stations to brand their stations RainOil, to now run under our franchise as part of their own strategy. So what's your strategy? And what's your execution? So I can speak on this so much, but I don't want to...
Thank you so much. Thank you. But I just want to clear one thing up. Relationship, you just mentioned it. You went into a business relationship with a bigger brand. And I think a lot of people want to do this. How do you start off that kind of relationship? Was it a franchise agreement, or did you have to know somebody in the company, highly placed? How did you go about it?
You don't have to know anybody. The point is you must bring value. You must bring value. Relationships is all about value. Are you bringing value, or are you a parasite? People don't want relationships that are parasitic. What a lot of people are banding around as relationship is actually a parasitic relationship. Oh, help me. Oh, listen, no matter how highly placed somebody is, he needs people who bring value to them. Nobody is an island to himself. So ask yourself every day to say, what value are you bringing to the table? I was going into a relationship. Excuse me. I own a petrol station. I'm not saying give me a petrol station. I'm not saying give me money to build a petrol station. I have built, Pastor Doka, I have built a petrol station. I have the money to buy the product. I am saying, put your brand, not my brand, on my property. Is there a beg there? Is there a beg? I was coming into that meeting with value. To say, I'm not saying I beg, give me one truck. When I sell, I will pay you. No. I am saying, one, I have built a station with my money. Two, when I sell product in that station, two of us are sharing margin. So I am ceding part of my margin to you because I'm running it under your brand. Three, I am paying you in advance. So sell me 1 million liters of PMS. Then how much? Let me say 60 naira. So I will give you 60 million naira up front. I will give you 120 million naira up front. You know the funny thing? When I did that, sooner rather than later, by 2006, 2007, RainOil was Oando's single largest customer in this country. When we are accounting for like 5% of their turnover. So when then Oando said their turnover was 300 billion, RainOil alone will account for like 15 billion of that 300 billion, 2007. You know the funny thing? From a relationship, we became a strategic partner. That they will call us. RainOil, in next month, what volume of petrol do you think you will need? You know, you need 15 million liters last month. I said, okay, this month, I think next month we'll need like 20 million liters. So they can put it into their planning. So the point is, you must bring value. If people are avoiding you, know that you are not bringing value. Put yourself in a position where you carry value. And then you will get the kind of relationships you want. Thank you.
Okay. All right, let's have questions. If you have any questions, please pass the mic around and let's take some questions. I see somebody in the front there.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Rex, for very wonderful moderation. So I want to ask this question. It's been very heavy on my mind. If a young man meets a Dr. Gabriel Ogbechie or a Dangote, what should they ask?
Okay.
That's my first question. What should they ask for? The process or the money? Number two, I've heard the story before when you came to Government House for the youth program. And in my head, I was thinking you were a little desperate. You were very desperate. Maybe somehow rude. Permit my language. Permit my language. And I'm asking,
Kenneth.
now that you are here, GMD RainOil, if any young man who is as desperate as you, like you, then does this to you now, what would be your response? Those are just my two questions for now. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you very much.
Austin Okorodudu is my name. Thank you.
Austin, the first question I understand. The second question is a bit ambiguous. But let me take the first question. If you meet a Gabriel Ogbechie or you meet a Dangote, what should you ask? I would take the popular Chinese adage that says, instead of giving a man fish, teach him how to fish. If you meet a Dangote now and you ask him for money, even if he gives you whatever amount of money he gives to you, without the underlying foundation, money will disappear very quickly. So the question is, if you meet a Dangote, I would rather ask him, show me the way. What do I do? Seek knowledge from him. Seek wisdom. He has done it. He has created value. I've read the Dangote story. It starts with his uncle, Alhaji Dan Tata, gave him 500,000 naira. From 500,000 naira, he has built such a large conglomerate. Large conglomerate. A couple of weeks ago, I was taken on an inspection tour of the refinery he's building. When I finished going through that facility, I said, only a man with the heart of a lion can dream of doing it. Now, to actually now go ahead and do it, I can't describe him. You need the heart of a lion to say, I want to do this. To now go ahead and do it, you need more than the heart of a lion. And that's what, so if I meet Dangote, the question is, how do you dream of things like this? Not ask him for money. The second one is, I don't know how to, because that's not a question, that was more of an opinion. If you break it down, I may be able to speak to it. I know that I spoke at a youth conference, yes. Sounding rude or sounding desperate, those are opinions.
Do you want him to rephrase?
Well, if he puts some, even though he's gotten his opportunity, he should have put some flesh to it.
Okay, sir.
If I were you,
I'm here, sir.
Sorry,
Okay.
I won't get into a back and forth with you. If I were you, this is not the youth conference. This is man-to-man conference. You should have, just in the circumstance, come up with your own question, even though you're using that as a background. Because people who were here were not there, so they cannot put anything in context. Having said that, thank you very much. I'll take the next question.
All right.
Thank you very much. Good morning, sir. My name is Uche. So please, I want to ask, I think there's a part missing in this your story, and it has to do with funding. How did you go from someone who sells a truck and makes 30,000 naira per truck in 1997 to someone who makes 15, you said 15 or 5% of Oando's revenue as at 2007, just within 10 years? How did you get, or how did you come about, like how did the funding to expand the business come from? Was it from reinvesting your profits, from a bank loan, from family, or how did the funding come about to grow this big in 10 years? That's my number one question. Then number two is, I think it's something that bothers me.
Okay. The Bible says that one will chase 1,000 and two will chase what?
10,000.
One will chase 1,000, two will chase what? Now, 1, 1,000, 2, 10,000. He said 2 is times 10. Now, it's the power of multiplication. You asked a very, very good question, but at the same time, you provided the answer to one. The first thing, which I will speak to much later in the conference this evening, and then hopefully by tomorrow when I get into my slide, and then I can begin to get more of a deep dive. And that's one of the things I will talk about, one of which is keep your earnings in the business. As you make money, keep your earnings in the business. So one of the things we have done, and one of the things we keep doing, is that as we are making money, we keep keeping the money in the business and keep using that money to regenerate the business. That is one. Then number two is leverage. As you begin to make money and as you begin to show capacity, then leverage begins to come into the business. Banks actually begin to chase you with money. Do you understand me? Banks, a lot of people say banks don't give money, banks don't give money. I say no. Banks are desperately looking for who to give money to. You have no idea how many banks are chasing me, begging me to take money that I don't need. Billions of naira. I will say no, I don't need it. Because of what I was talking about. Are you bringing value? When you create, you see in this Asaba, a lot of people will go to bank, they can't raise, banks can't give them 10 million. The same banks, there are people they are chasing, begging them to come and take 100 million naira, and they are saying no. Correct? For those of you who are running businesses. So you must put yourself in a position where you are bringing value. I don't like that word, I beg. No, I beg. I beg gets under my skin. What value are you bringing? So, RainOil, when we started the growth, you get to a point, the banks kick in. And then funding comes in, and then you accelerate. Correct? Okay. Having said that, let me put that discussion in context. Let me put it in context, just for your sake. Let me put it in context. The beauty of the oil industry is that the cash flow is unbeatable. Boy, how many of you here have driven into a petrol station and bought fuel on credit? How many? Raise your hand. When you drive in, as you are buying, you are paying. No. There's no credit. You come to the depot, you want to load product. Not only would you have paid, the money would have been confirmed. You go settle well for account. You go see the alert well before you get the goods. It's a high turnover, low margin business. It's a high turnover, low margin. Okay. Let me break it down for you so that you can relate with, because I don't want you to leave here with the wrong impression. Correct? Okay. I owe you explanation. Okay, what's your name? Yes, sir. Pastor Favor. You said Pastor Favor, right? Oh, Mr. Favor. Okay. Favor. Favor has 5 million naira. Favor has 5 million naira. I want to keep it simple. 1st of September, Favor has 5 million naira. He uses 5 million naira. I want to simplify it for you. He uses 5 million naira. He buys 1 truck of petrol on 1st of October. By 2nd of October, he sells it and gets 5,030,000. I want to keep it simple. The margin is just 30,000 on 5 million. Is 30,000 a lot on 5 million? It's very small. Okay. But he sells it by the 2nd or 3rd of October. 2nd or 3rd of October, his 5 million has come back. They have made 30,000. He takes the same 5 million. He buys another truck on the 5th of October. By the 6th of October, he has sold it again. He has made another 30,000. His money is now how much? 5 million plus 60,000. By the 8th of October, he takes the same 5 million. By the end of October, that 5 million, he has traded it 5 times. With 5 million, he has generated a turnover of 25 million. And he has made how much? 30,000 in 5 places. 150,000. If I extrapolate over 1 year, if he keeps doing the same thing, how much did he do in 1 month? And what turnover? 25 million. 25 million times 12 is how much? Who will give me that figure? At this, 25 times 12. No. Okay. 300. So the point I'm trying to make, what did he start out with? Has that 5, even though he has turned over 300 million, how much cash does he have? His cash is still at best 6 million. So it doesn't mean he has 300 million, correct? How much cash does he have? 6 million. Okay. So are you seeing what I mean by leverage now? So don't run with 15 billion. It doesn't mean, I'm just talking of turnover. Because the fuel business is a high turnover, low margin business. If you want to do 15 billion naira in a year, you will be surprised that with 100, 200 million naira trading, you may be able to generate that level of turnover. If you want to drill down further, come and see me. Then I will charge you for consulting.
A round of applause for our speaker. Do we still have time?
One more.
Okay, one more question. One more question.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Benjamin Efenudu. I studied petroleum engineering, so this is quite nice to me. One question I have is how to start small. You've mentioned particularly the trade in marketing, which is good, but I would like to know, like if I have 5 million, I want to start today, like 3 aspects so I can look at which one is best, in starting small if I have like 5 million today. Then the second question I have is considering the clean energy global drive, lots of countries, France is looking at banning, fuel cars in the next 2040, and they're looking at hydrogen fuel cells and all these other means of energy. How is it going to impact the oil and gas industry? From 2012 thereabout, I saw lots of companies start looking into solar and other alternative energy industries. So I'm asking now, is business looking at that? And for someone like me who is just about starting, I'm also trying to look at what is the world turning to so that I can also have my hand in oil and at the same time in next generation energy resources. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Your very first question says, for somebody who has 5 million naira, how should a person start? I will rephrase that for you. What's your core competence? Where do you have the knowledge? I went into oil and gas business, the downstream, because I had worked for an oil and gas company for 5 years. I had the knowledge. I tell people that the most important thing you need in any business you want to do is knowledge. A lot of people think it's capital. I say no, it's knowledge. When you put knowledge in front and capital is trailing knowledge, the knowledge acts as a protective shield over your capital. When you put capital in front and knowledge is trailing capital, what tends to happen is that you tend to lose the capital to acquire the knowledge. And that's when we say you have learned the hard way. May not be our portion to learn the hard way. Amen. So when people come to me to say, I have 5 million, what do I do? I say, no, keep your 5 million first. Quarantine it. Keep that 5 million aside. The first question is, what knowledge do you have? Do you want to go into the oil business? Leave that 5 million. Come and understudy the business. Yes. Understand how the business is run. Because every business has its own trade secrets. I see people who come to me and say they want to do the oil business, and then they engage me. If 10 minutes of listening to them, I say, guy, you have all the money in the world, but you're going to lose this money quicker than you can recall. Go and keep this money. Go and try to understudy the business. So, have you worked in the oil industry before? If you have, no, it's a rhetorical question. If you have, well, at 5 million at best, what you can buy today is a truck of petrol. Go and buy a truck of petrol. Go and look for a petrol station to supply, and then they can sell and pay you and give you a margin. There's a lot of margin on the retail side today, so there's a lot of upside for those who supply to petrol stations. However, there's also the risk side of it, the credit risk side of it, which I will be speaking on later today and hopefully by tomorrow as well when I do a deep dive. Now, the second one about renewable energy and co. Of course, the world is going green. I was in Paris just before COVID started. I was just going down a street in Paris, and I saw cars and power bikes just plugged on the roadside to power charging ports. And I said, oil has an expiry date. As of today, UK has come up with a regulation that by 2040, they don't want to see any fossil fuel powered vehicle on their road. So by 2040, and the European unions are even bringing it a bit down. I was in the US, I came back from the US about a week ago. In the US, Tesla cars are all over the place. Tesla cars are, so the world is moving away from hydrocarbons. I worry that Nigeria is still stuck with their crude oil, and nobody is thinking about what is going to happen to this economy when crude becomes a matter of the past. For us, if you notice, again, talking about strategy, we are already positioning ourselves away from that. It's a gradual thing. For those of you who may be observant, if you notice a lot of the RainOil stations around, I was giving an example about Sabah 1. We've converted it to an LPG plant. We've converted it to gas. If you go to our station opposite House of Assembly on Okpanam Road, you see an LPG facility there. We are installing LPG in all our petrol stations nationwide because the world is moving towards gas. Within the next 2 years, we want to start seeing cars in Nigeria run on gas. We are investing in that right now. And money will be given to people to convert their cars to run on CNG. That conversation is ongoing. So, you know, like they say, if you throw a frog into boiling water, it will jump out and survive. But if you keep a frog in cold water and heat it up gradually, it will die there. Because the frog will not be sensitive enough to know when that temperature crosses the critical point. Again, it brings us back to strategy. We are strategizing. We are not waiting for when that world will have moved to clean fuels. We are changing our investment. In the last 1 year, about this time last year, we commissioned an 8,000 metric ton liquefied petroleum gas facility in Lagos. Today, we bring in LPG in shipload into this country to feed cooking gas. Have you noticed that people no longer buy kerosene? Because everybody is moving towards LPG. We are in the forefront driving that process. We are also in the forefront driving the conversion of cars to run on LPG and to run on compressed natural gas. So that by the time the world moves away from oil, RainOil would have been ready to take advantage of that market. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
A big round of applause to Dr. Gabriel Ogbechie. Yes, for more, come over this evening for the Man-to-Man conference. And also, let me allow our senior pastor to close this session. Thank you very much.
All right, let's appreciate our guests this afternoon. God bless you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Can we give a round of applause as we receive him back?